Michael Wilmington of the Chicago Tribune calls this movie a dark comedy that blows up like an exploding cigar, leaving nothing much behind but smoke, noise, and a bad taste. Renee Rodriguez of the Miami Herald calls it the cinematic equivalent of being poked in the ribs with a fork for 2 hours. But Letterboxd user Matthew L. Brady says it might be his biggest guilty pleasure of all time. On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we decide the fate of Death to Smoochy.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be? It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters!
Get me Smoochy.
Get me Smoochy.
Get me Smoochy.
Smoochy the Rhino! We're doing our own montage of audio clips.
Okay. Welcome to Ruined Childhoods, everybody.
Welcome. It's time.
I'm so happy that we're talking about Death to Smoochy on this episode. But I've got some one more things. You're saying like you're nervous about my one more things. I have 3 more things, actually. Do you have any more things?
No, apparently you have enough.
And this is about Nothing But Trouble, everybody. Our last episode.
I have nothing more than for Nothing But Trouble, but you've got 3 things, so don't let me hold you back. I got 3 things.
We never talked about how at the dinner they were served warm Hawaiian punch, which is like so funny. Paired with the ants on a log is such a funny thing to serve.
Yes, we totally
and it's like that
and
giant can, and they put like the oil thing in there, and
yep,
it's beautiful.
Yep, it's the classic, we're having a party in school today. We're having a little class party. Time to crack open the cans of Hawaiian punch that have been sitting back behind the gym since the 70s.
Yeah, and I'll put the actual quote in, but Chevy Chase is something like, nothing I like more than a piping hot glass of Hawaiian punch.
How about a nice Hawaiian punch?
Thank you, Judge. You know, there's nothing better at the end of a long day on the road than a nice warm glass of Hawaiian punch.
Yeah, as his character often does in that movie, just kind of unnecessarily goes to the point of insulting the Hawaii, just to the edge. He's like just hanging on to being somewhat polite in that line.
And leading me to my next thing is while they are driving through Vulcanvania and they are passing by all of the townies. This is what I had referenced in, I believe, was it our Trading Places episode? I can't remember, but I alluded to the idea that there would be a callback to Trading Places in one of our future episodes, and I forgot to mention it, but while they're driving through, he yells out the window to some guys, some townies.
Morning. Sell pork bellies, buy gold.
So, yeah, I mean, it's too specific of a reference for it not to be a Trading Places nod. That Dan Aykroyd was probably just like, hey, you should tell them to say this. And if people get it, they get it.
Well, now that you mention it, that was something I did notice watching Nothing But Trouble was the kind of that financial side to it, the Chevy Chase's character, that whole side to it was very reminiscent of and I think I caught the pork bellies thing, and
right.
I think it kind of registered, oh yeah, pork bellies. But yeah, I definitely now that you mention it, I did think okay, this repetition, this theme of the rich manipulating the poor and taking advantage of people.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely that through line between those. So my last more thing
is when I was going through trying to find reviews to include for Nothing But Trouble, it's hard to find a positive review. So that's when you go to something like Amazon or Letterboxd to find, other, civilian reviews.
What the real people think.
And according to one Letterboxd user who didn't really give much of a review, but gave this bit of an anecdote. So this is what he wrote. The story goes that in 1985, while at a coke-fueled birthday party for Lorne Michaels, Dan Aykroyd read the entire original 300-page script for the movie, doing all the characters and screen direction for a packed group of fans, including Chevy Chase, John Candy, Rick Moranis, and Paul Simon, to name a few. Amongst the other to witness Aykroyd's reading were the members of Metallica, most notably lead vocalist and writer James Hetfield. The next morning, in a cough-ridden, diarrhea-plagued hungover daze, Hetfield wrote the beginnings of a song in tribute to Aykroyd's film, a song that would appear on his band's 1986 opus, Master of Puppets, as The Thing That Should Not Be. And now you know the rest of this story. And I'm going to play a little clip from that song right now. So the song doesn't really have anything to do with the movie, but the thing that should not be, if this is true, I mean, this is, urban legend, Dan Aykroyd urban legend. But yeah. Wow, what a story if it's true.
Wow, yeah, I'm gonna have to go listen to that song again. I had not heard that.
Right, it's not one of the hits off of that album, but the title alone.
Oh, no, I mean, I hadn't heard I hadn't heard that rumor.
Oh, the rumor. Sure,
I mean, and I definitely haven't heard that song in a long time.
Right. Well, if it's true, that is fascinating and not surprising.
No, The Thing That Shouldn't Happen. Is that what it was called?
The Thing That Should Not Be.
The thing is talking about the movie itself.
Right.
He heard the script. He said, this should never be. I need to write a song to make sure that it never happens.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. What's fascinating to me is the idea that Chevy Chase and John Candy were witness to this and still took part in this project.
That, and I mean, with the like Metallica was there, which I guess Metallica, it just, yeah, to me, I don't think I'm familiar with any tales of like the SNL, SCTV crowd running with Metallica back in the day, but
but this is like,
I don't know.
It's 1985. It very well, it says a birthday party for Lorne Michaels. Like maybe that's, I mean, I don't think that he's hanging out with Metallica for, friendship reasons. We don't know. It's possible. But like, I could see like at an after part, like an SNL after party or something like this going down where like Metallica was the guest. I mean, this says birthday party for Lorne Michaels, but who knows? Yeah.
Hey, the 80s, Hollywood. Who knows? Who was there doing what to who and what with what? And yeah. So yeah, that's what I've got. Going back to Nothing But Trouble, I greatly enjoyed revisiting that movie, and I'm glad that we gave ourselves that opportunity. It was a fun little. It's fun to watch around this time of year as well as that nice, fun little Halloween-y vibe to it.
Yeah, it's spooky and weird and creepy, and not much unlike the movie that we're talking about this week that has like an eerie vibe to it. Death to Smoochy.
Oh, very dark. Yeah.
Very, very dark.
Very dark.
Dan, I remember you particularly liking this movie at the time of its release and when it was out on video. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I did not see it in the theater.
You did not see it?
I did not
in the theater.
So, I think that every time I say it, and of course with this
Well,
movie,
it's appropriate in this movie because
it's a little closer. Yeah, no, I had not seen it in its initial theatrical run or any theatrical run for that matter.
Not very many people did.
No. It was interesting to me. Like, I wanted to see it. It looked good, but I didn't have the opportunity. I was doing a theater tour down south at the time, and it wasn't like we never went to the movies, but I think that came out right before the end of that tour. So it was kind of that mid ground where I just didn't get to the movies and didn't see it. But I was intrigued. I thought it was an interesting, I mean, I loved Edward Norton and was a big fan of his already by that point. And Robin Williams, it had been some time since I had really enjoyed a comedic Robin Williams performance. Like, yeah. I thought he was great. He was that same year, I think, Insomnia with Al Pacino, Christopher Nolan directed.
Insomnia was 1 Hour Photo also that same year?
1 Hour Photo, yes. I think was also that same year or the year before. It was right around there.
Yeah.
1 Hour Photo, he was great in that. And I was interested to see him get back into comedy, but kind of more of the
comedy with an edge.
Comedy with an edge.
R-rated comedy.
Yeah. Oh, it is such an R-rated comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I was excited to see that, and Danny DeVito as a director makes interesting choices when in his films, and he's also made a nice, kind of a wide range. Like we've talked about Throw Mama from the Train, but also in his filmography, you have movies like Hoffa. You have Matilda. You've got The War of the Roses, which is probably the closest in tone to Smoochy.
Right.
Very, dark comedy about divorce.
Yeah.
So, and I can't think of off the top of my head if there were any others that I'm missing that Danny DeVito had directed up until that point.
Up until this point, and I feel like this was one of the last ones that he directed. I don't think he did too much after this.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think like maybe one thing, but anyway, from right from the beginning, from Throw Mama from the Train, or a knack
Duplex.
Duplex. Oh, did he direct Duplex?
He did Duplex, and that was in 2003.
I enjoyed.
And then
Duplex.
He's done a bunch of short films over the past, over the course of his entire career, but most recently it was 2016.
Yeah.
Something called Curmudgeons.
Okay. Yeah. So between that and like Catherine Keener, just the cast and the premise, and I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I was Edward Norton and Robin Williams as kiddie show hosts. I was like, okay, I can handle
in an
this.
R-rated movie about children's entertainers.
Yeah. But I didn't see it until it was a rental one night, and I remember watching it definitely not sober.
Right. Yeah, same.
But I just was watching this movie, and it was so unique, and there was so much done in it that caught me off guard. It was one of those comedies that really surprised me, but it wasn't the type of comedy that does that, and then when you watch it again, it's not really as funny.
Right.
This is a movie where there are definitely some of those laughs, but there are a lot that held up. So, like, I watched it again with anybody who would watch it with me.
Right.
And
and also,
made people watch it.
To compare this or contrast it to, Chevy Chase's performance in Nothing But Trouble, where Chevy Chase is just like saying things in his Chevy Chase cadence, and that qualifies it as a joke. You have Robin Williams spouting out just like funny lines, rapid fire. And I listened to every single one of them, and they all crack me up.
Don't Smoochy. My name isn't Randolph, it's Randall. How does it feel to be voted the most hated man in America, Randall? In a country full of Neanderthals, I wear the fucking badge of honor.
Orwell says you have an unhealthy obsession with shells and smoke.
I barely know that bitch, okay? And she's been down on everything but the Titanic. She's stretched like cream cheese for Sheldon.
What about the rumors that you're mentally imbalanced?
Who the fuck said that? That's bullshit! I'm not mentally imbalanced! I'm on the same dosage I've always been!
Let me handle this. Listen, between my client's dwindling cash flow and his mounting legal fees, he's sinking into a deep psychotic depression.
So they grab my ass!
Hey,
get away from me! Don't touch me!
Please.
Very nice! I've been shot! I'm bleeding! Salmonella! You're a lawyer, that's salmonella! Someone touch my ass! I want some room to breathe! Okay. Back off!
And there's so many that you can miss, which is why the movie holds up on repeat viewings. Some of them are more subtle than others. There are some that are really, like the lotion joke with Jon Stewart.
You broke, you got nothing left.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you, buddy.
What's this? Rainforest benefit freebie bags, disposable cameras, Kahlua flavored peanuts, hand lotions, no animal tested. Don't ever contact me again, Randy. Get out of the car.
You know what to do with a hand lotion, jerk off.
But then there's others. The scene when when he shows up at Nora's apartment and he's, kind of putting her through it, and he's firing off so many great one-liners about all the kiddie show hosts that she's been with.
But yeah, we'll put in a clip right here.
What's up? Whoa. Two for the price of one. How convenient. How serendipitous.
You know what? Get the fuck out of here right now, Randolph.
Oh, you eat with that mouth?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's just all take it easy.
Bite me, Buddha. I had her first.
What?
That's right, baby. Yeah, you snatched her away. Now you gots to pay.
Pork it, asshole.
Hey, does somebody want to explain to me what this is all about?
Didn't she tell you of the love we once had? Passionate yet tender, old-fashioned yet experimental.
Randolph, you have lost your mind.
Oh, enlighten the lad, Nora. You were such a hot little brood mare. Does the bridle still fit?
Hey, watch your mouth,
What
mister.
experiments? I've had firmer handshakes, you drunk.
Please, it's small, but it's fierce.
Hold the phone here. What? Are you telling me this is true? You and him?
No, yeah.
Well, how do you like that?
You're just another action figure for her collection.
Shut up, Randy, before I jaw you again.
I got Mr. Boomy, Missy. Why don't you tell him about Jingle Jackson?
You dated Jingle Jackson, too?
She used to like to play with his bells. What about Wally the Whale?
Nora, how could you do it with Wally the Whale?
There she blows.
So why don't I do a little synopsis before we get real deep into this?
Go for it.
Rainbow Randolph is the hottest name in children's entertainment, but his star quickly fades as he is busted for taking bribes from parents who want their kids featured on his show. Scrambling to replace him, network exec Marion Stokes searches for the least problematic performer to fill the time slot. He chooses a scrubby methadone clinic performer, Sheldon Mopes, aka Smoochy the Rhino, and tasks network VP Nora Wells to track him down and sign him for his own TV show. Sheldon is a health food promoting goody two-shoes and sees this as his opportunity to spread his message, but Kidnet has other ideas, using his image and name to sell sugary drinks and cereals. Sheldon teams up with Burke Bennett, a children's performer agent who secretly has ties to mobster Merv Green, who runs a corrupt charity organization. Sheldon also becomes buddies with Spinner Dunn, a half-witted former boxer whose family is the center of New York's Irish mob, and Spinner's love for Sheldon isn't unnoticed by Tommy Cotter, who runs the mob. Meanwhile, Rainbow Randolph is out to get Sheldon, his replacement. He attempts to ruin the Smoochy show with phallically shaped cookies, but when that doesn't work, he resorts to more drastic measures. In disguise, Randolph tricks Sheldon into performing as Smoochy for a massive group of neo-Nazis. This ruins Smoochy's image and is quickly taken off the air. Once the truth is revealed, Randolph gets busted and Sheldon's street cred is back on track. But there's one big problem. Burke arranged for a Smoochy on Ice show to support Merv Green's charity. Sheldon agrees to do it, but only if all of the concessions are healthy and free, which ruins Merv's plan to make oodles of cash from the event. Merv wants Smoochy dead, so Burke hires a washed-up former children's performer named Buggy Ding Dong to off him at the ice show. When Nora, who has now become romantically involved with Sheldon, and Randolph, who has now made amends with Sheldon, catch wind of what's happening, Randolph thwarts the assassination attempt. Sheldon, Randolph, and Nora all live happily ever after. And as we said before, Rainbow Randolph is Robin Williams. Edward Norton plays Sheldon Mopes / Smoochy the Rhino. Danny DeVito is Burke Bennett, the agent. Catherine Keener is Nora Wells. Jon Stewart is Marion Stokes. We've got Pam Ferris as Tommy Cotter. Michael Rispoli as Spinner Dunn.
I'm spinning.
Harvey Firestein is Merv Green. Vincent Schiavelli is Buggy Ding Dong. It is an all-star cast.
And man, you know, like you were talking before about Chevy Chase kind of just Chevy chasing his way through that performance. Everyone in this movie really just kind of goes all in, especially Edward Norton.
Edward Norton's great. Robin Williams, like, you know, he's putting in the work for sure.
You could tell, to me, this seems like the type of thing that Robin Williams really loved doing.
I would imagine, yeah.
And it's really
a subversive comedy about a children's entertainer that seems right up his alley.
Well, about a children's entertainer who's really like, it's an act.
A scumbag.
Yeah, he's really a scumbag, though. It's interesting because I love you have the moments when he realizes what a scumbag he's in and that he's been, and you realize that, oh, maybe at some point he was, you know, decent. Uncorruptible. He was decent. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's why, you know, Nora, who has this history of dating these children's entertainers, you know, I think that like she saw the good in him, and then when he started to show his ugly side, that's when they split.
Mm-hmm. And sorry, can I just comment? Isn't it kind of nostalgic to watch a movie where it is deemed as socially unacceptable to be a neo-Nazi, and the FBI will arrest you for being a neo-Nazi?
It's refreshing to see that.
Yeah. It was like the least believable part of the movie. No.
Yeah. Also, have we done any other Robin Williams movies? I honestly don't think that we have, which is crazy.
I think
this is episode 88. 88. What an appropriate episode to be talking about Nazis.
What am I missing?
88 is the number associated with neo-Nazis.
Yes.
8H. 88
yes, no,
HH,
got
Heil
it.
Hitler. Yeah.
Sorry, you said 88, and I was thinking Back to the Future.
Really?
Oh, yeah. 88 miles an hour.
Okay.
You're going to see some serious shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do you one more. I think 88, I think Dick Tracy, 88 Keys.
88 Keys, okay. Well, you know what? When you say 88, I think Caddyshack 2, which came out in 1988 and starred Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. So, anyway, getting back to Death to Smoochy.
6 degrees of Heil Hitler?
6 degrees of nonsense. Same thing. So, what's really... Oh, you know what I noticed about the cast? So, Danny DeVito definitely likes to work with a certain group of people. And... like he and Vincent Schiavelli have done so many movies together, dating back to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yeah. Schiavelli,
right, absolutely.
And recently, I rewatched Batman Returns recently, and he's in that as well.
Yeah, I didn't even know that, but it makes sense.
And I was thinking about the connections. I'm like, well, because I was watching it with the commentary, and Danny DeVito's commentary, he's talking about how Edward Norton was wearing the all hemp clothes and how it was kind of a tribute to Woody Harrelson.
Oh,
and
no
I
way.
thought about it and I was like, his performance is very much Woody Harrelson. Like if you think, especially like Woody as Woody Boyd in Cheers.
Yeah, naive, kind of playing dumb, but there's something else going on.
But when you listen to his voice, it's I can hear, oh, come on, Miss Howe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Come on, don't say that, Miss Howe. People are going to think you're crazy. And,
That's interesting. Yeah.
But
on the note of the hemp clothes, real quick, I think this is the very first time I may have ever heard the word gluten.
You wouldn't believe what it took to get these guys to throw on a couple soy dogs. Hello, people, wake up and smell the future, okay? I mean, organic, twice the protein of any of this stuff, and nobody gets killed. You know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna get you on these gluten-free buns before I'm finished with you. We're gonna change the world, brother. All right, Sheldon.
Oh, yeah.
How many people were talking about gluten in 2002?
I mean...
Edward Norton and Death to Smoochy.
Unless you had to avoid it, yeah. And he also apparently made the spirulina...
Right, the spirulina...
made that all himself.
Almond butter.
It was the almond butter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so the connection that I made, I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, there's a Milos Forman connection between Danny DeVito,
Man on the Moon.
Danny DeVito, Man on the Moon, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Cuckoo's Nest, of course. Yeah.
Schiavelli, who was in that, and People versus Larry Flint, which also starred Edward Norton. And Woody Harrelson. Not in this movie, but certainly comes up.
In spirit. Sure. Yeah.
So,
and also talking about just like other connections, Robin Williams had somewhat recently worked with Harvey Fierstein and Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know if there's a Catherine Keener thread with anybody, but she's so good. This era Catherine Keener, so it's like Being John Malkovich, Death to Smoochy, 40-Year-Old Virgin, like that. There's a few years in between each one of those, but like, I don't know. She has this like, her characters all have this certain like edge to them, but they are very much individuals. They are very powerful people. They, even when she's, a mom who runs an you sell your things on eBay store in 40-Year-Old Virgin, she's still like, she's doing it on her own. Like she's still just a very strong-willed person. And her character in Death to Smoochy and her character in Being John Malkovich they could be cousins. They have just like this biting edge. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're kind of like you could tell that they like to, when they see a man who they know they can manipulate, that's kind of what you see them doing. It's what you see her doing as Maxine and Being John Malkovich, and what you see her doing as Nora.
Yeah.
Here.
So what year is Being John Malkovich? Was that 99?
99, yeah.
99. So this coming out in 2002, probably being shot in 2001, I just have to wonder, like, did they see her in Being John Malkovich and be like, that's exactly what we want for this. Let's get Catherine Keener.
I mean, there was Being John Malkovich. There were like movies that she was in, like mid to late 90s, that were very indie. I want to say Kicking and Screaming.
Was she in Kicking and Screaming?
Or was it Walking and Talking? I get confused.
Kicking and Screaming, the Noah Baumbach?
No. She was in, I think she was in Walking.
She was in Walking and Talking in 96.
She has the relationship in it with Kevin Corrigan, and it's really...
Oh, I love Kevin Corrigan.
It's sweet, and it's a really believable... Yeah, so I love... Have you seen any of the show Kidding? Which was
No,
on
I've been
Showtime?
meaning to watch that.
She, again, in that, and it's interesting that she's in that, as it's about a... kiddie show host. And interestingly, Jim Carrey was at some point going to star in Death to Smoochy.
Not surprising.
I believe as Sheldon.
You see, I totally see him more as a Rainbow Randolph.
But I feel like I remember this being pitched as like a Robin Williams, Jim Carrey.
Really? See, that's
I don't know.
funny.
Maybe I'm off.
It's so funny because like, I feel like Edward Norton's so good as Sheldon. even though he had recently before this been in movies like American History X, where he's like this tough, like shredded guy.
He's a neo-Nazi.
Neo-Nazi, yeah. But like in this, he's kind of just like a little weaker looking. He kind of has like a very weak chin if we're getting, if we're going to go there. So it's like kind of like his presence is not very, it's not overly masculine, where I feel like Jim Carrey has like, he's got that jaw. He's got this like stature to him that I think comes across much better in a very confident character like Rainbow Randolph. And not to say that Sheldon isn't confident. He's very sure about himself.
Oh, very much.
But, he's not, Kidnet came to him. He kind of just put his whole thing together to like help people. He was not out there looking for fame.
Well, I also think like Carrey being pretty tall, I feel like Norton's height also kind of sells that like, he's the little guy, he's the voice of the little guy. Edward Norton wrote the songs that he sings in it, like the.
Did he really? Oh, he's 6 feet tall.
Edward Norton?
Yeah, according to the internet.
Okay, well then.
Yeah.
So he wrote like the stepdad's just adjusting song.
It is so. I love that song.
He slams the door, he stomps his feet, sends me to bed with zilch to eat. But my stepdad's not mean, he's just adjusting. His temper's bad and he's a slob, he's bitter 'cause he lost his job. But my stepdad's not mean, he's just adjusting. So 3 cheers for the man that I proudly call Stan. He's not quite a dad or a brother. Yes, he gets cross, but still, he's the boss. And besides, he takes care of my mother. So be patient with new friends like Stan. It's tough to be mom's second man. But your stepdad's not mean, he's just adjusting. So remember, kids, a stepdad is a lot like a new puppy. They need patience and love while they adjust to their new surroundings. But remember, if he is ever abusive to you or mommy, what are the magic numbers? 911! That's right!
That song is so funny.
Some of the scenes that he does and I love the way that they shoot the scenes that get like really dramatic, like when he's doing the campfire bit after he comes back to the show.
Oh my God.
It's great to be back home with you. I know I was away for a little too long, and some of you probably heard I went through some pretty rough times. Life outside the magic jungle, it can get pretty complicated. There's a lot of ugliness out there, a fair amount of injustice. Sometimes being a good person, well, that just isn't always enough. And I'm here to tell you, when that happens, it is hard not to get frustrated. Maybe even start feeling a little bitter. Oh, look, I'm just gonna say it. Sometimes, boys and girls, it's gonna make you flat out mad. And you know what I do when I get mad, boys and girls? When that pressure starts building up on my heart to where I feel like maybe I'm just not gonna be able to take it anymore, and this old rhino might have to put a little hurt on someone else. You know what I do then? I howl. That's right. I take all the things I don't like about the world and I let out a big old howl. Hoo, hoo, oh! Come on and howl with me now. Howl it out. Take all that frustration inside you, ball it up in a tight little ball, and let it out in a howl.
And then with the friggin' ice show, the opera.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
And Smoochy being found dead in Chinatown.
Yeah, so Spinner Dunn, the former boxer, becomes friends with Sheldon. He recognizes him as Smoochy, and he's just like in love with him. And in order to make the Irish mob happy, Sheldon gives him a role on the show. He's like a ranger or something, and plays the
wears
cowbell
like a safari hat
terribly.
and plays the cowbell.
Yeah,
in the
and
background,
then he gets bumped up after all the scandal stuff to Smoochy. Is he like Smoochie's like cousin or something?
Well, do you remember why he got bumped up?
Why did he get bumped
Tommy? Oh, because his cousin Tommy got sick of him playing the cowbell all through, running through the restaurant playing the cowbell.
Shell, you gotta help me out here. He's banging this goddamn thing from morning till night. I hate to take it away from him, but I got a headache. Goes from my eyes to my ass.
You know I love Spinner, Tommy, but I owe you pretty big. I'll see what I can do.
Bless you, Dan. Just give him something else to do on the show. You know, anything, just so long as you don't clang, chime, or honk.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, Michael Rispoli, who's shown up in so many things, he stands out to me so much in this one. He really nails this character of the guy who's gotten hit in the head way too many times.
And I don't think I've ever seen him do a character like that. Like, he usually either plays he was in The Sopranos in the first season. He was the original boss of the family. And in I want to say there's a film called, I think it's Two Family House with Kelly MacDonald. And he's just he's either kind of just like a blue collar.
Sure. I remember him also from Summer of Sam. I remember him standing out in that. He was in Rounders. I wonder if he and Edward Norton buddied up on that one.
Yeah.
He
Summer
was
of Sam
Snake Eyes.
Was in Summer of Sam, was he one of the neighborhood guys?
He was Joey T. That's his credit in this.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the neighborhood guys.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Neither have I. But yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff, and a lot of things about like mob type of things,
but never comedic like this.
No, and it's so lovely to me that he was given this opportunity, and he just nails it. Like, you can really feel his love for Sheldon, and after Sheldon lets him be part of it for so long, he just has this amazing bond with him. It's so great. It's really, really lovely.
It's really sweet.
Now, I am very excited to introduce a surprise visitor to Jungle Land. Boys and girls, please help me welcome, all the way from the Lewa Downs Rhino Preserve, my cousin, Smoochy! Come on down here, Mooch! Hey, you big drink of water, how are you? Gosh, thanks for coming all this way, Mooch. Say hello to all the boys and girls out there. Moochie?
My name is Smoochy.
Yes, we've established that.
Sheldon, these costumes making my nuts itch. That was so much fun!
Man, did you do great.
And the ice show is going to be so much fun. I'm going to skate out in a circle, and then I'm falling on my ass, and then...
Wow, you're really looking forward to that, aren't you?
Oh, boy, being back at the Coliseum, back in the arena, with the crowds, just cheering. Oh, it's going to be like heaven.
It's going to be great, Chan.
Oh, boy. Sheldon, I love you.
Oh, I love
you too. I love you, yeah. Hey, I tell you, I'm going to go to the locker room and take all my headgear off. And okay, all right.
And because of that, he has the protection of the Irish mob.
Very useful. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Now we're talking about, I think we started the show talking about how many amazing lines there are in this movie. Do you have any particularly favorite quotes from this one?
Oh, geez. I'm trying to think of specific lines. I love when you first meet Sheldon and he's playing at the Coney Island Clinic and he's singing about something about like, oh yes, the crack can lead to smack. Oh yes, it does.
Carl, you know what I'm talking about, brother. Sing it with me now.
There's that moment. There's the like Edward Norton shouting to the guy Nathan's like, I'm gonna get you on these non-nitrate whatever.
Yeah, on the gluten-free buns.
The gluten-free buns. Yeah, the gluten-free buns. And everyone's just like, okay, Sheldon, that's great.
Yeah.
When he agrees to do the ice show, Danny DeVito.
Sheldon.
Yeah. Now I got a bar mitzvah boy.
Oh. It's so weird.
Well, you know what's weird? On the commentary, and it's so
you
funny.
watched it with commentary.
I watched it with commentary. I'd seen it so many times. I'm like, I could watch the movie, and then I'm pretty sure I'd watched it with commentary, like when I first got this DVD. Whenever, like,
who does the commentary?
Years ago, it's Danny DeVito, and I want to say it's the DP.
Okay.
Whose name I forget.
Which, by the way, like stylistically, this movie is really exciting to watch. It definitely feels very 2002. There's a lot of like Joel Schumacher-y qualities to it, where it's like, the very bright, colorful lights in the backgrounds of things, and very like
that was one of the things
sharp angles, and I love the scene. I love the scene when Danny DeVito and Harvey Fierstein are talking to each other, and you only see their eyes, you don't see their mouths, and it's like just tight.
You know why they did that? You know why they did it that way? Because no,
tell me. I don't.
Oh yeah, so Danny DeVito had to go while they were making Smoochy. He had to go and do like pickups on some other movie and had to shave his mustache off.
Oh, well, it works. It's very effective, and it's like
it is.
I'm glad they did that rather than just like slapping a fake mustache on him, which would have been fine. But like,
no, it's a great
it works for it.
It fits with the style of the movie.
Totally.
But yeah, like you're saying, that was something that I noticed. It's very 2002. Just a lot of the ideas around it are very pre-streaming, pre-smartphones,
right? And we'll get to that, that. But also, even though it started 10 years before this, this show is very much this movie is very much in response to like Barney, this giant costumed children's entertainer. And I don't know if they mentioned this in the commentary, but like I have to imagine that the conversation was like, what if Barney was like a real dirtbag? And
the commentary doesn't really reference much in terms of like character or story development, I guess, because the screenwriter wasn't on the commentary, which is it's unfortunate, but you do find out that what they did, and like that Edward Norton and Robin Williams improv'd a lot. Robin Williams and Jon Stewart improvised quite a bit.
By the way, it was written by Adam Resnick, who wrote for Get a Life, the Chris Elliott Show. He was also co-EP on the Larry Sanders Show. So it's like he wrote Cabin Boy. So there's a lot of things that make sense about his work.
Oh, so what I was gonna say is, it was funny because they're watching the scene when Burke has the line, "Oh, now we got a bar mitzvah boy," and Danny DeVito goes, "Yeah, no, he must be Jewish and changed his name. It was probably Berkowitz." And I was like, "Yeah, but Burke is his first name." Like I actually said it back to Danny DeVito. I was like, "Yeah, but your character's first name was Burke. That doesn't make sense."
I wonder if it was supposed to be Bennett Burke and they just accidentally went with Burke Bennett.
No, I just don't think Danny DeVito was paying a lot of attention, and it had probably been some time.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, he had a lot of he did have like a lot of stories, and talked about what it was like filming in Coney Island, filming in Times Square, and just like how much fun they had. He talks about Jon Stewart's haircut.
Oh my God, his weird haircut.
Like a schoolboy. He calls it like a Julius Caesar schoolboy haircut. Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
Love that at some point they do or Edward Norton, Sheldon acknowledges Randolph's serious issues with sexual identity.
Oh,
he says. Because throughout the whole movie, there are so many euphemisms and puns. The whole opening number.
Right.
Names are different, the shoes don't match. Some like to toss while others to catch. One might say grass while the other says snatch.
Yeah, it's definitely not the most current language in reference to
friends come in all sizes.
Friends come in all sizes. Yeah. Right. There's a lot about this that is a little outdated. That wouldn't, but it's like it also just kind of works in the context of these characters in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean that whole it's implied throughout the whole thing, but yet there's really no other hints that like Randolph is secretly dealing with being closeted.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we also didn't mention Danny Woodburn, who plays Angelo, who's one of the Crinkle kids when he's with.
There's my favorite line.
Oh, what is it?
Make sure you get your $50 bump for working in smoke this week.
What's up, dog? Hey, Angelo. I've been meaning to tell you, I was a big fan of your work with the Crinkle Kids, and I really appreciate you coming over and being a Rhinette.
A job's a job.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he goes off and becomes one of the Rhinettes. Is that what they're called?
One of the Rhinettes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Edward Norton he's like, hey, I just wanted to thank you for coming on board. He gives him this whole little speech.
Yeah, job's a job.
Hey, don't forget to get your pay for working with Smoke this week.
I know. I love those little details that they throw in there. So my favorite line, and I think about this all the time. There's the scene when Randolph is at Nora or one of the apartment with Nora and Sheldon. It looks like you know what I'm going to say.
Oh, you know what? I thought I did, and now I don't think I do.
And he's like, he comes around and is kind of like realizing how much of a dirtbag he's been and is kind of on their side. And he's sitting there and he's just given like a mug of tea and it spills on him and he goes,
My balls! They're on fire!
And it's just like, it comes out of nowhere. And the way he says it, it's so funny. And it's like, I don't know. I think about it pretty much anytime I have tea. Like it's that burned into my mind.
Yeah, so that one, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, definitely remember that. There's the line, there's Spinner's line when he shouts,
Hey, don't go anywhere, Smoochy. I'll be right back after I take a dump.
Yeah.
And then also when he first comes in as Moochie and he's just like stone faced looking into the camera and then he's like, Sheldon, my nuts are sweaty or whatever. He says something like that.
My nuts itch.
My nuts itch.
Yeah, and then of course he's like, Smoochie's like, hey, it's Moochie. And he goes, I'm Moochie.
Yeah. No. Yeah, Michael Rispoli. Man, talk about hindsight awards.
Yeah, best supporting for sure. I don't know what else was going on in 2002, but they were sleeping on this one. Also, everybody hated this movie. All the critics hated it.
It's one of those movies where I guess if you're expecting something more run of the mill.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, like, if you are feeling nostalgic for the early 2000s and hey, you never know, and just like want to slip into a very different world, this is such the right movie for you.
A world in which being a neo-Nazi is frowned upon, especially by law enforcement.
Yeah, but you know where they have to go to see the neo-Nazis? Good old New Jersey.
Yep. Yeah.
This is our theme of New Jersey as an awful, scary place. Our home state.
Well, although Danny DeVito's home state.
Right, of course. But it's used, I feel like, in a way as a bit of a punchline.
Well,
you know.
Yeah, it's the punchline of like, well, you know, New York's right over there, but you're in Jersey.
Yeah, totally. So anyway, I love this movie. It's so silly. It's so weird. It's just got so many, the writing in it is so sharp. And
Mm-hmm.
I would watch it again today, even though I watched it like 2 days ago.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is it's, aside from that, it's got that dark edge. Like it doesn't pull back on, like, I'd say imagine like it's got like a similar tone to Cable Guy, but imagine Cable Guy pushed for like probably what Cable Guy, I'm thinking what Cable Guy looked like either in early cuts or in earlier drafts of the script. I'm imagining, just that turned up more. You've got Death to Smoochy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got, and man, just the production value, all the set pieces, that friggin' ice show.
The ice show is crazy.
Man, it's just so funny.
Yeah, big fan of the ice show. Big fan of Death to Smoochy.
They have there are little people in neo-Nazi outfits ice skating.
Right, because the ice show is telling the story of Smoochy, which is like what they really love to do. Tell the story of Smoochy. And then of course, once the story's over and everyone's all sad, let's do the jiggy ziggy.
You guys do the jiggy ziggy dance. Ziggy
whichever.
jiggy. Yeah.
So Dan, you've got Vincent Chiavelli with a gun to your head, and he's telling you to bring this property back. What would you do?
Hope that the heroin kicks in and he passes out. No. What? So let's see. What would I do? Well, a few possibilities here. So of course, let's get this one out of the way. I do think that Death to Smoochy would make a fun musical.
Totally. It is a musical, which is something that I say a lot when you say turn into a musical.
Yeah, but I think if you push it farther and you actually you've got some, more songs, you've got Nora, and it lends itself to that format. Now,
right.
Of course, it also lends itself to potentially a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying this in light of the fact that there is in the works a new live action Barney movie.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And being produced by Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah, that's right.
Of Get Out fame. And so I feel like maybe the time, because one of the things I was thinking about was like, are they really like, the kid shows really aren't necessarily like this anymore. And they don't really have those I mean, maybe you can,
as the parent of a 3-year-old, she was definitely into the Wiggles for a while, and they're definitely still active.
Right, but they've been around since, I would say,
but they were rebooted. A number of years ago. One of the members is still the same, but the other 3 have been replaced with younger. One of them's a woman. She plays the drums. She drives the big red car. Like, it's a little bit more current. And they have new, they have new shows, like new episodes of their different variations of whatever their show is. And I don't know, they do some cool stuff. They sing songs about things that are current. They put out a social distancing song when COVID hit. They join up with people like Lou Diamond Phillips for Rock and Roll Preschool. Like, they're a whole thing. They've got this whole thing going on.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't know they were rebooted. I never knew they went away. So now they're just like, they're like a 70s rock band that's touring with like one person. It's like Bad Company is touring, but it's Starship. So it's like, it's like Marty Ballin and Grace Slick's not even there anymore. Okay. So I'm thinking sequel, and I have a couple of ideas for sequel, but I was thinking of the creative minds to get behind a sequel like this, in case you didn't have the same, is Adam Resnick? Was that the name of the screenwriter? Returning to write the screenplay. I thought it would be so interesting to get Bill Hader and Alec Berg, to get that tone that they have in Barry.
Yeah.
I think would really translate well into Smoochy Land.
Sure.
And I'd be interested to see that, even if Bill Hader wasn't in the film, just that creative energy and that creativity. And of course, like, yes, put him in the movie. No movie is going to be worse off for having Bill Hader in it. So,
ain't that the truth?
But I was thinking of different plot lines and thinking, okay, well, let's say this movie's coming out in 2002 and it's Smoochy's 20-year anniversary. And I don't know, maybe Smoochy's retiring. Maybe there's a whole retirement thing going on and some other kiddie show host from the past is coming out to, I don't know, sully his good name. Or perhaps at this point you have Smoochy the Rhino 20 years in, and they're finally going to do it. They're finally going to make Smoochy the movie. But of course, now as Sheldon gets caught up in Hollywood, he realizes that there's much more corruption than he could take on the corruption at KidNet and in children's entertainment. But when it comes to Hollywood, he's a little out of his league, and I don't know what he has to recruit a team from there. I don't.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So Schiavelli, which pour one out for Vincent Schiavelli, by the way. And Robin Williams.
And of course, Robin Williams. Yeah.
Pour one out for Robin Williams. Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, so that, and I was thinking also, what if you could also involve a story where, let's say Sheldon and Nora are still together. You've got Edward Norton and Catherine Keener back. But let's say maybe now, because now there's so much more of a push. I think a lot of kiddie show hosts aren't doing the costume thing anymore. Like even the Wiggles, they're not in a full costume. They're in their
black
outfits
pants and their color shirt.
But they still have their, so, and then you see there's a lot of these, like there's Netflix has a science lab show. So what if you
Grand
introduced,
Hank?
So I didn't think about Grand Hank.
Okay.
Yes. No.
Dan, we're pausing what you're saying to talk about Grand Hank for just a second. Grand Hank. So around 2002, actually, when I was living in Philadelphia, Dan came to hang in Philly with me, and there's a local access television station, and they played this guy, Grand Hank. It was like a hip hop science show for kids, and his name was Grand Hank. And that's also how we became aware, because we were looking for Grand Hank, but instead saw like an infomercial kind of special thing about this guy, this superhero who
he's a superhero anti-bullying
activist named Tiger Man. Go on YouTube, look up Tiger Man Philadelphia and Grand Hank while you're at it. Okay, Dan, resume what you were saying.
Yeah. Actually, we'll just leave it at that. But man, those were some wonderful times. So what if there is now the new big hit female, host, a kiddie show host, is a young woman, perhaps played by Mindy Kaling.
Okay.
Who, because we have not put her in anything in a while, and I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, man, and then I was watching this and I was like, who would you cast as like the new, what if there's a love triangle, or what if there's now some sparks flying between Sheldon and this new host? Because I was watching one of these science shows on Netflix that, hosted by, a young woman. And I feel like Mindy Kaling would be great for that. And I know there's an age difference, but I don't feel like she's too young to potentially play opposite Edward Norton. Not that I would have them getting together, but.
So Dan, I also want to mention, while we're still somewhat in the topic of the Wiggles, just so you know, this new iteration of the Wiggles is the Fleetwood Mac of children's entertainment. After the new foursome got together, two of them started dating, eventually got married, and then got divorced. And now the woman is dating this other guy who plays guitar in the Wiggles, and the guy is maybe remarried to or either dating one of the dancers from the Wiggles, and they just had a baby together. And yeah, there's another guy who's in the Wiggles who is married to one of the dancers now, and they recently had a kid. It's wild.
So it's not so much like Fleetwood Mac where they all just kind of like slept with each other and had affairs and then wrote songs
but
about
that's
it.
the thing is Emma, the yellow wiggle, she's now dating this other guy who's in the Wiggles. He's not a wiggle, but like he performs with them and he is like on the show as like a secondary, like a musician kind of thing. So.
And where does Lou Diamond Phillips fit into all this?
Oh, he's the principal at the rock and roll preschool.
Oh, amazing.
It's so great because they talk about Lou Diamond Phillips as if kids know who he is. And they're just like, it's Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips, Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips, Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips.
Maybe in Australia, I don't know. It's really maybe
they're
like
really
Young
big into
Guns.
stand and deliver there.
Stand and
kids love stand and deliver.
As well they should. They should. Is it so then why isn't Edward James Olmos a bigger part of the Wiggles?
Well, that's because they're also really big into Blade Runner and they're all scared of him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they don't think they'll be able to understand his language.
No. So Dan, I'm sorry. You were in the middle of...
I really wasn't. I was just saying, like, you could have in your new Smoochy sequel, like, in kind of work it into, like, now maybe, like, there's not Kidnet now, but it's kidnet.com or it's the Kidnet app or something like that where they got bought. And it's Sheldon really having his morals put to the test and really testing whether or not he can stay in this business and be true to his ideals.
Okay. I think that we've got some parallels.
Okay. Interesting.
Not that I had the idea for a musical. I think that's a wonderful one and that should be explored. Get on it, Broadway. So my whole thing is all about how there is this influx of like amateur children's performers showing up on like YouTube and really taking over, kids who have this like bite-sized attention span.
Jack Hartman.
Who's Jack Hartman?
Jack Hartman does all these songs. So any parent of a kindergarten, first grade, second grade age child that did homeschooling probably knows Jack Hartman. Jack Hartman is, I want to say he's like, I think a child psychologist by trade, but he does all like songs to teach. So he'll do things about the diphthongs. Mm-hmm. It's very Wiggles, Schoolhouse Rock inspired.
So here in Portland, we have a local legend named Red Yarn. And I kid you not, Red Yarn just did a Zoom performance for my kids' like preschool this evening. He was on my screen. He was talking to my kid. She was giving him suggestions. It was awesome. And so like there's all these, so in this world, there's all these performers that are just like these very like, they're local. So kids see them live wherever they are. And, there's just so many of them that kids stop watching network television. Kidnet goes under. And Sheldon has to decide if it's time to retire and just hang up the rhino costume for good and just say, you know what? I did what I did. I think the world's a little bit better for it. Or I
made a dent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or I reinvent myself and kind of join this new way of doing things. And maybe he tries that out and completely fails because he's an old fuddy-duddy now. And that's like, he's kind of at this crossroads. But that's when there is an evil man, a very, very mean man who's running for president of the United States of America. And Sheldon realizes that he has built up his platform to a certain level, and he is going to run against this evil man who's running for president of the United States, and he's using all of his, his old tactics from children's entertainment to reach these small-minded people. and really get them to turn around. So it's actually has some elements of like Man of the Year, the Robin Williams film, where he is a Jon Stewart type who, you know, essentially a Daily Show host who is convinced to run for president. I haven't watched that one since it came out. I don't know if anybody else has.
I haven't seen it in a while. I remember seeing it and thinking it was good. I remember thinking it's good.
It's good. Yeah.
It's good. Not great. It was good. But then again, I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while. I love this idea. Keep going.
Oh, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Oh,
yeah.
So Smoochy for president.
Smoochy for president.
Give me Smoochy. Who would you have playing his opposition?
I feel like somebody like Chris Cooper would be a little too on the nose. What has Harvey Fierstein been up to? Maybe it's Merv and he's you know, tearing it up.
Yeah, no, I mean the first person that came to mind was Tommy Lee Jones for some reason. But
Tommy Lee Jones, I don't know.
I feel no, I don't that's not who I would go with. Who could kind of take the place and
Michael
be that
Shannon?
Comedic?
Michael Shannon would be so good.
Michael Shannon, of course, Michael Shannon would be so good.
Michael Shannon is one of the funniest people probably on the planet, but can also be a really amazing dramatic / menacing actor.
Yeah. Have I mentioned that I saw Midnight Special? Finally?
Oh, Midnight Special's good. I like Midnight Special.
Wow. Yeah. So just throwing that out there. If you haven't seen Midnight Special,
I think it's on some of the streaming platforms.
It's on Netflix. I watched it on Netflix. Yeah. Really good. But
yeah.
Yes, Michael Shannon as the would you have the other president be the incumbent? Would you have it be like a 2020 situation where it's like we need, you know, the greatest good to combat the greatest evil? And
I don't know. I want to say it would need to be, you know, a newcomer, just because it's more of like a 2016 vibe where like, you know, you have a 2-term president who is not running again. And you have this, you know, reality TV show host who's from the business world, who doesn't, you know, play by the rules of Washington, D.C. and, you know, is coming at it from a different angle. And it's like, for Smoochy, there's also a little bit of that, where it's like, this isn't somebody who's been tainted by Washington, D.C. It's somebody who we know is, you know, he's not fully squeaky clean because he's been through a lot, but, you know, he still stands by all of his morals. And even when he almost, you know, shoots, is he going after Burke?
Yeah.
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 He, you know, the gun gets taken from him and he...
Perhaps in other directions you could go with the casting. Perhaps Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd would be really good.
The banker turned. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot. I like that. I think that idea is great. I love the idea of Sheldon, because that is what Sheldon Mopes would do if he had that platform.
Totally.
Sheldon Mopes would absolutely be like running for president or doing what he feels is the right thing to do.
Sure. Yeah. He's definitely a very ambitious person. And yeah, I mean, like 20 years later, you're going to have a lot more support behind you, you know, especially if he's been consistently doing the Smoochy show. Yeah.
I think it also kind of pokes fun at the, I feel like there's more of a sense of like the speculation that The Rock is going to run for president, which granted, don't get me wrong. Like, and I say this with the caveat of pretty much anyone would be better than our current situation. Like Dwayne Johnson.
And by the time this comes out, we may have, no. This will come out the morning of Election Day.
This is coming out. Yeah. So my recommendation for you is watch Death to Smoochy today. Find some, like, if you tonight, rather than sitting there and watching CNN straight, just take some time, take that 2 hours, watch Death to Smoochy, come back to the hell that we're living in afterwards.
Totally.
Which, God, I mean, and please vote. I mean, yeah, it's probably...
It's too late.
You're hearing this now. It's too late unless you're going in person.
Right. If you're going in person safely and your vote is not being suppressed, then vote responsibly.
Yeah, I love this idea of, and these days I'm not that into watching much that's political, but I would definitely watch Smoochy for president.
Yeah, and I mean the good opportunity to mention that, like, you know, we have been talking about doing certain movies on this podcast that revolve around a presidency, but it's been a little difficult for us to broach that subject. So I hope that there is a day soon when we will do a movie about a president or about the White House or something that, right now, as of today, we're just not there yet.
We're going to keep that off the radar.
But you better believe that I am ready to do an episode on Dave anytime, any place.
Yeah, no, I think I would just be a bawling mess of tears if I watched that movie and was just like, oh God, even when he's the asshole, he's still better.
So Dan, do you want to tell everyone what we're doing on our next episode in our month of movies that we're thankful for?
Yeah. So we are thankful for the next movie that we're doing. And unlike Death to Smoochy, it was a very popular movie, an Academy Award nominee, an Academy Award winner, in fact.
And its legacy is living to this day.
Yes, absolutely. It continues. That's right. We are talking about 1996's Fargo.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, don't you know?
I do know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So very excited for Fargo. Love the Coen brothers. So another great movie that if you're looking to get in escape on election day, throw in Fargo and just take yourself back there. But yeah, I'm excited. We're going to talk about Fargo.
Yeah, well, Dan, on your trip to a children's performance in New Jersey, I wish you a good journey.
Good journey.
Hey, Poss, want to come to my birthday party?
I'm on the verge of a major breakthrough. Go away.
Aw, hey, what are you building? How does it work? What does this do?
Huh? No, Molly, no!